Black Scully on check. Got a little polo graphic tee on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. It is Monday, which means it's another glorious college football day for Governor of College Football, and I'm happy to be here. I hope you all enjoy your weekend. Happy Memorial Day for everyone who has served in this nation that has passed on. So our thoughts and prayers are with those families today, and may they be celebrated. We're going to talk about quite a few things today. On today's docket, we're going to get into some Into the News segment. We're going to talk about Bill Belichick, of course. I feel like we talk about Bill Belichick in almost every Into the News segment, and they've been able to add Nathan Leacock via the transfer portal. Ohio State fans are mad. They're upset. They want more primetime games. We'll talk about that. I heard Andrew Bakuba been balling out as well. And on the governor's ruling segment, and shout out to everybody who was part of the Friday episode. We had CFB Moon come on, and we talked about our favorite quarterbacks. We're going to get into some more quarterback talk. I'm going to recap that episode for anybody who missed the special episode, and we'll recap my top 10 quarterbacks, and then we'll also get into the Davey O'Brien watch list. And even though you would think they're kind of hand in hand, I think they're different because I think, the people around them makes it different. And then lastly, we're going to get into our Hawkeyes football deep dive. This Around the Nation series, at least for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I figure we'll focus on the team. I'll do one team. Eventually, we'll get to the G5 ranks, but I figure I'll do one team in the conference, teams that intrigue me. And right now, our Hawkeyes is one of those teams who really intrigue me, and I can't wait to talk about them. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ
defensive
on
minds. They have to be better on that side of the ball. Righty. Happy Memorial Day. Let's talk some college football. Today's segment is going to start. I always try to do this Into the News segment, and I try to give you guys the latest news and kind of catch everybody up on in case you've been busy this weekend. But our hearts and prayers here at Governor of College Football and CFB Nation. I'm with Julian Fleming and his family and his girlfriend family. I believe her name was Alyssa Boyd. I believe they were on an ATV and got struck by a deer, something along those lines. The vehicle struck the deer, rather, and I believe the girlfriend did pass away. And right now, I believe Julian Fleming is still in critical condition in the hospital. So, we just want to send our thoughts and prayers with them. It's heartbreaking. It really is just hear news like this, and I feel like it happens. I don't know, maybe it's because the exposure of college football now versus back in the day. I'm not sure what it is. I just feel like it's you just hear so much heartbreaking news, and this is one of those things. I think I was at work yesterday and I saw this. I'm like, damn, that's really heartbreaking. So definitely our thoughts and prayers are with both of those families. Tar Heels, I told you guys this in the open. They add a 4-star wide receiver, Nathan Leacock, through the transfer portal. You see, Bill Belichick is getting active. I always wonder, a coach like Bill Belichick, he has, let's be honest, what else does he have to coach for? Arguably one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game, and to go, at the collegiate level. And I feel like it's just been so much news about, how old his girlfriend is, or, him sitting with the girlfriend dad and being older than the girlfriend dad. I feel like, let's talk football. Let's get back to football. Like I said, I'm not that guy. That's none of my business. I'm not going to get into that because, like I said, it's none of my business. If you want to get into that, and that's your business, you have the right to, but I'm not getting into that. Let's get back to football. And I think North Carolina unfairly has got some negative light with everything that's going on with Bill Belichick, but I think he's doing a pretty decent job, getting adjusted to the collegiate level. Year one, I think anybody focused at the collegiate level, these aren't your players. You're recruiting onward, but those players that are currently on your team are not your players. Everybody knows that. So year one, if you want to win now and win later, you kind of try to figure out what studs you have that is in this locker room from the previous regime, and then you try to figure out how you can add pieces so you can win now and win later. And I think he's done that. I really like to get in Gio Lopez. Huge fan of his. I love what he did at South Alabama. So it'll be interesting to see how well the Tar Heels fare, and we'll find out week 1 in their week 1 matchup versus TCU. I mean, 2 old school ball coaches and him and Sonny Dykes. I can't wait to see that. That's gonna be a damn good game, and excited to see both of those quarterbacks in that game. Week 1 schedule is loaded. I know Ohio State and Texas is getting a lot of top billing, and I've been, I pay attention to college football. I'm watching a lot of shows, and I saw that Pate had that as that, best game of week 1. It's hard to argue against it because, you talking about 2 teams that put on a show doing a semifinal of the college football playoff. But for my money, the battle of Death Valley is the game to watch. 2 quarterbacks that I think they're going to have Heisman implications in Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik. Battle of Death Valley, for the real Death Valley, if you want to say. So that I don't know. I'm just interested in that. Ohio State fans demand primetime games. So we know that the real commissioners of college football are these TV networks, right? I think we've established that on this show. I think the people who disagree with it probably disagrees with it because they don't want to believe it. Versus, was reality is almost like expectations versus reality. I always love that montage in the movie 500 Days of Summer. Yes, it's one of my favorite movies. But anyway, like, I hear them. Like, we're going to get a game like Texas versus Ohio State, and it's going to be at 12 o'clock, bro. Like, bro, that's not fair to the people in the West Coast. Or even the people in Central Time. Like, Central Time people, that's 11 a.m., bro. You get to the stadium, like 3-4 hours early, tailgate, do everything you want to do. Like, versus, an 8 p.m. game, like I believe the LSU and Clemson game is going to be, you getting your money's worth. You can party all day, you know what I'm saying? Watch college football all day, in your camper, or, eat some good food and then watch your team play at nighttime. So I can understand why Ohio State fans want more primetime games, but it's contractual. It is what it is. Like, the TV networks are the commissioners of college football. And you, my friend, I'm talking about the fans in Columbus and, at Ohio State, the Ohio State University, are one of the biggest draws in all of the sport. You're going to play a lot of big noon games. It is what it is. I ain't make it up. It's just facts. It is what it is. So, typically, after the NFL draft, I let these kind of before then. I'm moving on to the next season. After the national championship, we go celebrate these kids at the Senior Bowl or, whatever your favorite, post like season all-star event for the people who are trying to make it to the NFL. But Senior Bowl is where we go, and we try to celebrate those players and then move on. But sometimes you just hear news, you're like, damn, that's crazy. And it seems like the Eagles have been fleecing people for years in the NFL draft. There's a reason why they won the Super Bowl. They've been able to get active in free agency every now and then, but they've truly constructed this roster through the NFL draft. And to hear that, Andrew Makuba is making waves already, and he just got there, that's scary. That's real scary. On to the other news, and I wonder how everybody in the comment section feel about this. The NCAA considering a policy shift on athletic gambling. A proposal gaining steam could allow NCAA athletes to legally bet on professional sports. With the sports betting legal in more than 30 states, the NCAA may adjust its policy and reflect broader legal trends. I don't know how I feel about this. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know how I feel about this. Just being real, just being honest. Like, we see a school like Iowa State, multiple athletic departments seem to be having issues with gambling. Why would we allow it for pro? And I get it, they're not in the game, so they can't cheat the sport. But gambling is a disease for a lot of people. There are some people who are addicted to gambling. So if it's already, shattered some sports. Like, we remember some of the biggest point shaving scandals, especially as it pertains to college basketball. But I don't know. I don't like that. Like, why allow them to get? They shouldn't be able to gamble at all. I'm just being real. I don't know how y'all feel about it. Let me know how y'all feel about it in the comment section. We're going to move right along. We're going to get to this governor's ruling segment. I think this governor ruling segment is going to be fun. So if you missed the surprise episode on Friday, even though I hinted at everybody that there will be a surprise episode on Friday, our governor's ruling, my boy CFB Moon came and joined, and we went back and forth about our quarterback list. And for anybody who missed it or didn't see it or they saw it, and it was, because I think me and Moon, whenever we do an episode, it's going to automatically be 2 hours because, we both love college football. So I want to talk to Davey O'Brien, but before I talk to Davey O'Brien, I want to kind of recap who I had as my top 10 quarterbacks. And we'll get started right at number 1. Top 10 quarterbacks heading into the college football season. Garrett Nussmeier. He produced. He threw a lot of interceptions last season, but he produced. There's not a throw that kid can't make. I love the offense. I love the team. I said this on Friday that I believe that LSU may have the funnest offense on College Football 26. EA Sports, can we please get something with College Football 26? Like, I ain't seen nothing. By this time last year, we already had the official reveal. Like, we ain't really got nothing. It's like they keeping things close this year. I mean, but I don't know. I ain't a part of the high society of gaming, so I don't know if people have seen the game already. And number 2, I had Cade Klubnik. What don't you like about Klubnik? I love the pairing. I think it might be the best O-coordinator quarterback pairing in all of the sport with him and Garrett Riley. Cade Klubnik is probably going to be on everybody's list of everything quarterback related or Heisman related. He deserves that. It is what it is. 3,639 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The kid was dynamic on the ground too, with 486 yards and 7 touchdowns. I really like Cade Klubnik, and the fact that we get to see him play quite a few times year in and year out is pretty cool. I had John Mateer at 3 from Oklahoma. I know some people were kind of scared or really didn't know where to evaluate him because of Washington State's schedule. It is what it is. You play the team across from you. Him and Ben Arbuckle been able to have success. Ben Arbuckle had success the year before him too with Cam Ward. So yeah, John Mateer is legit, and what Oklahoma is building is legit. And even with a really tough schedule, I believe that Oklahoma is going to be a problem. I truly do. Even with the tough schedule, I believe they're going to be a problem. Just being real. At number 4, I had Drew Aller. Drew Aller is probably the most disrespected quarterback I've seen in recent memory. What Penn State do isn't sexy, bro. They play ugly football. They like to play the percentages and, play time of the possession game. And sometimes they don't take enough shots. And I challenge them to take more shots this upcoming season. But it's not always sexy. I'm going to tell you that right now. And there's some abysmal throws by Drew Aller in a Notre Dame game. Yes, he'll be the first person to tell you that, yeah, he has some bad throws. I know he wants that Nick Singleton one back on the goal line where they could have scored a touchdown instead of getting 3. So I like Drew Aller. I think he's disrespected, one of the most disrespected quarterbacks really in recent memory. I don't know why he's hated so much. It doesn't make sense. I had Sawyer Robertson at 5. I know a lot of people didn't like this pick. I don't really care. I like college football. I happen to love Big 12 football. I happen to see a lot of Sawyer Robertson last year, and I know this kid is real deal. Like 28 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,000 yards. Waco, ain't too many better college towns than Waco. The defenses that he's going to face in the Big 12, Big 12 is all about, in recent memory, being able to score, being able to win the game down the stretch. That's what Big 12 football is. I watched a lot of Big 12 football. This kid Sawyer Robertson isn't getting enough attention. I know there's bigger names out there. You got the DJ Lagways who didn't make this list, but I am going to continue this list. I'm going to do an 11 to 20, and I promise Moon we'll do that one. So I don't know if we'll have another surprise episode Friday. We'll have to wait and see. I doubt it. Yeah, I doubt it. But we'll have to wait and see. But I did have Sawyer Robertson at 5. I love the wide receiver room that they have down there at Baylor. And look out for Baylor, man. They were red hot towards the end of the season. Lenore Sellers at 6. Ceiling is through the roof really with Lenore Sellers. We've seen him single-handedly take over the Clemson game last season. South Carolina is building something, man. If you don't like Shane Beamer, you don't like college football. For real. 7, they had Avery Johnson. Shout out to Avery Johnson. I talked about the NIL loyalty bonus before. It is what it is. But shout out to him for wanting to stay in the Little Apple when I know that Knoxville money was calling. And I know they was going to get his kid serious dollars. But 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, another 605 yards on the ground. There was a reason why Will Howard hit the portal last year. And it was because Chris Kleiman and company thought that this kid, Avery Johnson, was real deal. Josh Hoover, TCU, another guy that I like down in the Big 12. I got a lot of Big 12 quarterbacks on there. But, threw for almost 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, threw 11 interceptions. That's high. Double-digit interception in college football is high, but when do they come? If you, trying to go down and win a game or come back and you throw an interception, you try to make plays, it is what it is. But I like Josh Hoover a lot. Rocco Beck at 9. Rocco Beck probably should have been higher on this list. I like Rocco Beck. I like Matt Campbell. I like what Iowa State doing. If any of you all who's been paying attention to the show, since we've been doing the lives over the last month or so, you guys know I'm high on Iowa State, and Rocco Beck is a big reason of that. Number 10, I had Luke Altmaier. So that's just rounding out who I had in my top 10. In case you missed it, I'll say it real fast one more time. Garrett Nussmeier at 1, Cade Klubnik at 2, John Mateer at 3, Drew Aller at 4, Sawyer Robinson at 5, Lenore Sellers at 6, Avery Johnson at 7, Josh Hoover at 8, Rocco Beck at 9, Luke Altmaier at 10. Some quarterbacks that fan bases probably be upset with is DJ Lagway. I just think that's a really good football team. I think they got one of the best offensive lines in the country. They got one of the best 1-2 punches at running back. I just think Florida is well built. They're good defensively. They got playmakers on the outside, and that's not to take away what DJ Lagway does. I just believe he has more help than others had. That's truly why he ain't in the top 10, but he will be 11 for sure. And by the end of the season, or by even fall camp, this could change. And then Carson Beck will be the other one. Like, everybody like, yo, you hating on Carson Beck. I ain't hating on Carson Beck. That would be somebody else that people probably have an issue with. Narsh Manning not being in this list. He's only not in this list just because the number of starts. A lot of these guys I had on this list, had plenty of starts. And so let's now switch gears for anybody who's confused. Like, what was that list? Was that the Davey O'Brien list? No, that wasn't the Davey O'Brien list. That was just my thinking of who the top 10 quarterbacks headed to this season is. Now, the official Davey O'Brien watch list will be different from who I think are the best quarterbacks. So Davey O'Brien Award, I love the award. It's one of those ones, I think every year CFB Nation has done like a superlative episode. I know Nino and I on Overreaction Monday, which will be going live tomorrow at 8:15 p.m., maybe 8:20. We've done it every off season, so I enjoy doing it. So these are my top 5. You'll see some of the names will remain the same, but there'll be some different names up here as well. I'm going to throw in some dark horses in this list as well. But number 1 is Garrett Nussmeier. I'm all in on Garrett Nussmeier, and it scares me because Brian Kelly scares me. Brian Kelly scares the living hell out of me. I don't know why. He just does. I don't know. Like, you ask 10 people, hey, what's your opinion on Brian Kelly, or do you think Brian Kelly is an elite coach? I think you'll get 10 different answers. And ultimately, bottom line will be yes or no for whomever it is. But I think with some people, it'll just be like, he a good coach, but I feel like you'll get so many of those. Like, nah, Brian Kelly a good coach, but this. So Brian Kelly is a good coach, but that. I feel like that'll be like the over, arching theme, because you look at, hell of a job at Cincy when he was there, hell of a job at Notre Dame. I ain't taking nothing away from him. I just don't know if this era of the SEC, if he can win, and even if, everything, like, LSU checks a lot of boxes this year. They check a lot of boxes. I promise you they check a lot of boxes. Go look at their offense. Go look at their depth chart. They check a lot of boxes. And while I'm all in on Garrett Nussmeier, and I believe he can make every throw, Brian Kelly scares me. It just is what it is. And there's no disrespect to Brian Kelly. He's a great coach. I'm not saying he isn't a great coach. He's a great coach. It's just, there's just times where you look at this team and you say, huh? Like, we've seen them in kickoff games last year, right? Heading to the season, we knew LSU played USC, and USC did everything in their power to get out of that game. They did not want smoke with LSU whatsoever. Now, USC won the game, but USC was trying to get out of that game, bro. I promise you, USC did not want to play them dudes. They did not want that SEC smoke. I think that's part of the reason why Lincoln Riley went to SoCal. Man, we going to go ahead and coach in this Pac-12 because Oklahoma and Texas trip, and they talk about going to SEC. I'm trying to go coach in Pac-12. And ultimately, he ended up in the Big Ten. And I think year one, Lincoln Riley is hated on, bro. I don't know why he's so hated on. Like, for me, a person who truly understands the air raid, I truly don't get why Lincoln Riley is so hated on. That's neither here nor there. But they lost to USC last year, first game of the season. Year before that, they lost to Florida State, and they got hands and feet placed upon them. And that was after playing really good in the first half. Then in the second half, Keon Coleman happened, Jordan Travis happened. They lost, boom. Then before that, they lost to Florida State in a game where both teams made a lot of mistakes. It was like a myriad of mistakes made. But, Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is about LSU. Like, I look at this team and I say, I like this team. I got faith in this team. I really think this team could be special, bro. But at the same time, it's like Brian Kelly, young. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is, man. I really don't. Like, it's like that. It's almost like that Sixth Sense, like, where, you know, like, you go to a certain neighborhood, right? Like, you from a certain neighborhood, you seen certain things growing up in your neighborhood, and you, like, need to go get some gas or some food, and then you search on your, you know what I'm saying, your GPS or whatever, closest gas station. You pull up, nah, I ain't going to that gas station. And it may not be nothing wrong with the gas station. You just look at me like, I'm not going to that one. I just wait and go to the next gas station I got to go to. Like, that's what Brian Kelly be like. The type of vibes I get with Brian Kelly sometimes. It's like, yeah, I know you're a good coach. I know you can scheme. You know how to recruit. You're not scared to put the work in. But sometimes your teams just don't show up. I don't know what it is. And I feel like it's something weird always going on, you know? When you think about the Keyshawn Butte situation, if you know, you know. I'm not repeating what it is. If you know, you know. Or the Manti Te'o situation from years ago with all these storylines so Buddy can win the Heisman. Like, I just feel like it's just something always going on. So, no, I'm not going to stop at that gas station right there. I ain't stopping. I'm going to go to the next one. That's how I feel about them. But I really do like Garrett Nussmeier. I believe he can be QB1. Number 2 on this list is Cade Klubnik. And at this moment in time, I don't want to say take everything I feel with a grain of salt right now, because heading into the season, Cade Klubnik can definitely be one. If I see everything I need to see out of fall camp, Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier can switch. Because I can say, yeah, I ain't stopping in Baton Rouge, going to a gas station down there. I'd rather wait. You know what I'm saying? That we all stop at a gas station in Clemson, South Carolina. So, yeah, they're interchangeable. And honestly, depending on what we see out of Oklahoma, out of Norman, John Mateer could be in that conversation as well. So, I got Garrett Nussmeier at 1. I got Cade Klubnik at 2 for the Davey O'Brien watch list. John Mateer at 3. Hey, man, real air raid coming back to Norman. That's all I got to say about that. And Buddy can throw the rock. Buddy can run the rock. Got Jaden Ott in the backfield, and Jaden Ott will have his Roy Jones, y'all must have forgot moment this year, because he did not look like himself last year. And you know, it's crazy when a lot of times when like players have like either a down year or a year that we expect better out of them, we just kind of throw them to the back burner. Very similarly to how I just did Carson Beck. And even though Carson Beck year overall wasn't terrible, like if he beats Bama last year, I think we're looking at Carson Beck very differently, because we're looking at a team that was getting the hell beat out of him in the first half, and Carson Beck, the fierce competitor he is, he was able to fight and get back into the game and really gave Georgia an opportunity to win the game, and then Ryan Williams happened, and we know the rest of that story. But I don't know. I look at a lot of these teams, and I'm like, okay, we have something here, but we are quick to throw people to the back burner. I'm not throwing Jaden Ott to the back burner. I think Jaden Ott is still an elite back. I think they got Nagy as their GM. He definitely knows what he's doing. John Mateer is there. Ben Arbuckle is there. And I think the focus and the attention to detail that we're going to see with Brent Venables, like, yes, he's the head coach. Yes, he needs to be concerned with all 3 levels of the game as it pertains to special teams, which a lot of head coaches do like to take over, as it pertains to offense, as it pertains to defense. He knows what Ben Arbuckle, the mastermind offensively, that Brent Venables can now focus on that defense. And they really wasted a good year in Norman with the defense that they had last season. They had a really good defense, but it went by the way. They couldn't score points. So they got a guy that can score points now. They got the right pieces in the building now. You just look at this team and say, yo, things can happen. Brent Venables can really focus on the defense, and then all Ben Arbuckle's going to need the book say we should go for it on this play, and Brent Venables say, yeah, go for it or punt. Either way. Nah, our defense is playing great. Go ahead and punt the ball. That's all Brent Venables going to have to worry about offensively. He can focus on what he needs to focus on defensively. Number 4, DJ Lagway. I know a lot of y'all was upset he wasn't in my top 10 quarterbacks. Well, he had 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions last season, but his ceiling, I think he might have the highest ceiling out of anybody in college football. Just based on the room that he has, just based on, I think him and Billy Napier has a really special relationship. And I think in many ways, a lot of us think that DJ Lagway helped save Billy Napier's job last season. And rightfully so. I mean, Billy Napier's done a great job in Gainesville. Bro, I had Buddy fired. I'm so sorry, Billy Napier. I had you fired, dog. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm like, yeah, you ain't making it through that schedule. But that's why you paid the money. You're paid, and I paid the money. I paid. It is what it is. I was wrong, okay? But yeah, DJ Lagway, you look at this offensive line. When you look at the Joe Moore Award, one of my favorite individual awards, and it's because it's for offensive line play, but it's not really an individual award. It's a team-based award based on individual play of 5 guys. So when I look at that and I look at some of the best offensive lines, I do think about Penn State, but immediately I think about Florida. I think Florida has the best offensive line in all of college football. He'll be protected. They got a really good run-to punch at running back with Ball and Jackson. They got the playmakers on the outside. So you look at DJ Lagway and you looking at Billy Napier and say, hey, these are your keys. You go run this offense. DJ Lagway ceiling is through the roof. You know what scares me about DJ Lagway? Is one, if you saw the Florida Gators episode, and I will be uploading these individual team segments. Shout out to my boy CFB Moon. He did give me the thumbnails. So I'll start uploading those within the next 24 hours or so. Well, anyway, I think that DJ Lagway, what scares me with him is what happens if he just like what happens if Florida wins it all? And I know we're doing a what if episode a little bit later in the week, but it's more so on 2024 what ifs versus future what ifs. But, what happens if Florida do what I think they're going to do, which is go 10-2. They have the ability to go 10-2. 10-2 will probably land them in the SEC championship game. DJ Lagway balls out, and he still got to come back to college for another year. So you looking at it like, dang, he probably QB1 in 2027 if he ball out the way we think he can ball out. And then what happens during the 2026 college football regular season? Like, is he playing safe like we seen with Spencer Rattler down in Norman? And, the fan base is begging for Caleb Williams. So that's what I think about. Sawyer Robertson is on this list, of course. He was high on my list in my top 10 quarterbacks. Of course, he's on this list. I already talked about what he was able to do down the stretch last season. He's a chain mover. Baylor won a lot of games at the tail end of the season, and then they have really good players on the outside for him, and he's got plenty of people to get the ball to and a decent running game. So I like Sawyer. Of course, he's on this list. Lenore Sellis is on this list. That's a given. Arch Manning is on this list, and I know I didn't have him in my top 10 quarterbacks only because of the number of starts. It wasn't because I don't think he has crazy potential. It's not because he could certainly be QB1 of 2026 or QB1 of 2027 whenever he decides to enter the NFL draft. But I don't think it's just a formality that, hey, after this season, Arch Manning is going to the NFL. Yeah, he could come back for another year. He got that type of clout, and he got that type of pockets, too. His pockets is deep, bro. So he definitely have an opportunity to stay. And now I want to get into a dark horse. I really want to get into a dark horse. Miller Moss is one of my dark horses. And I know a lot of people are not going to like this. I know a lot of people don't like Miller Moss. Go back and relook at that USC season last year. I know he lost 5 games by 1 score or less. But this kid's got a lot of potential. Jeff Brom has kind of become the forgotten man quarterback. Like, he's like, all right, Jack Plummer, people don't believe in you. Come here, come to Louisville. We're going to take care of you and get you to the next level. Come here, Tyler Shuck. Come to Louisville. We're going to take care of you and get you to the next level. Right? I think with Miller Moss is going to be the same, and I like Miller Moss's ability. I mean, hell, we're not too far from over when Miller Moss at USC lit up this Louisville team. It was a really good defense that he lit up in the bowl game, so we're not too far removed from that. Miller Moss has a lot of talent, and every year I look in the ACC and I look at the Big 12 and I be like, yo, who's that guy that nobody's kind of paying attention to last year? Like, I feel like I started the Kyle McCord bandwagon last year. I ain't gonna lie, I started it, and I got receipts to say that I started it too. I said that he would be top 5 passer in the 2024 regular season. He was indeed the number 1 passer of the 2024 regular season. I think Miller Moss will be able to produce in this offense. Now, Jeff Brom and company has always been able to run the ball. For some reason, they just always seem to get running backs. I don't know what it is about this team, but they just always seem to get running back. So I'm interested to see what happens with Louisville this upcoming season. Louisville, any Louisville Cardinal fans, I am doing a deep dive with them this upcoming week. I believe it's Wednesday that we're doing the Louisville deep dive. I'm not sure. So any Louisville fans, stay tuned for that. It'll definitely be the third segment of Wednesday's episode. So these are the quarterbacks that I think that, the Davey O'Brien watch list. I could have added a lot more quarterbacks. Do I have another dark horse? Kyron Drones, Virginia Tech, is another dark horse. I don't know. I continue to believe in Virginia Tech because I believe so much in their head coach. I believe in Brent Pry so much. Brent Pry is a coach's coach. He's the son of a coach. That kid, just when you get a chance to talk to football and you are in these, you are in these spaces where you do get an ability to talk football with some of these guys. I think the last two ACC media days I've been able to ask Brent Pry and Brent Key, to be honest with you, quite a few questions, and I always enjoy their responses. You can tell, with some coaches, it seems like it's work when they're up there on the podium, let me go up here and do this. I have obligation, the Marshawn Lynch, so to speak. I'm just here so I don't get fined. That's the vibe you get from some coaches. I'm just here so I don't get fined. But Brent Pry is one of those coaches. I feel like he thoroughly thinks about his responses. He really listens to your question. He hears it. I feel like he digests it. And then he responds. I feel like he's a thinker. So I want to believe in Virginia Tech. Yes, Virginia Tech disappointed me last year. I thought they had an opportunity. I thought the ACC was for the taking last year. And it was, because SMU came from G5 ball and said, hey, yeah, we going to be in your conference championship in this upcoming season, and had the best regular season record in the conference. So I feel like every year the ACC is for the taking. I feel like every year the Big 12 is for the taking. Louisville, I think, is a team this upcoming year that's certainly going to take it. So this is my recap on my top 10 quarterbacks and my Davey O'Brien watch list. We're going to go ahead and get into a commercial break from our sponsor, BetUS. And then when we get back, we'll get into our Iowa Hawkeyes deep dive. You all stay tuned. Look at you out here using all these other sports books and you ain't even using the best one. BetUS. Get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the offseason, even though we don't celebrate that. CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7. But there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. BetUS has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CFB Nation and go get that money.
Shout out to BetUS, our proud sponsor. You can get 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. Make sure you check them out. Speaking of CFB Nation, shout out to the squad, man. Shout out to the gang. Shout out to everybody who make this thing possible. I don't think people really realize how we really do try to cover the nation. Make sure you guys check out the CFBNation.com. That's CFBNation.com. Every week, whatever your favorite Group of 5 team or P14, we cover them. Every week, we do articles for every team. I don't think people realize how difficult it is. So check out the website. We do got a subsidiary coming soon. I'll speak more on it. Probably, we like to make announcements during media days, so probably somewhere during media days. That's gonna be exciting. We've also got some media day news recently, and I'll probably open up tomorrow's segment with some media days news. ACC Media Day release who's gonna be there, and I'm excited about that. Of course, the subject will change, but right now, I think right now it's probably almost set in stone. So we'll talk about that. Instead of doing an Into the News segment, we'll do that for our Into the News segment for tomorrow's episode. So around the nation, our Hawkeyes 2025 outlook. Every year there's always teams who intrigue me. And I don't know if it's just through, just like naturally just loving college football. I don't know if it's just like, all of the work that we put in and the thing that, they call the off season, but we the 1%ers. So of course, you who are watching this and me and then everybody else we interact with are all the 1%ers because we need deep in college football content in May. But every year there are teams that naturally just be like, yo, I think they could be dangerous. Like I look at their schedule, I look at their roster. I look at their schedule, I look at their roster. I'm like, yo, I was one of those teams who intrigued me, just like Florida did, just like Penn State did, just like Texas did. You all know I'll be talking about Louisville this week. I'll also be talking about Texas Tech. That's another team who really, really has piqued my interest. And yeah, I think Iowa, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Iowa. I think we're going to wake some people up after this segment. So let's get into it. Kirk Ferentz has done a lot of winning during his tenure in Iowa City. He hasn't had a losing season since 2012. And I know in college football, we love the sport so much because you got to almost be perfect in this sport. But, he hasn't had a losing season since 2012. I think he's only had a few of them in this. I think he's heading to his, 26th season here in Iowa City. But he's won 10 or more games 4 times in the last 10 years. And while, his offenses aren't uber explosive like some of the greatest offensive minds in the sport, Kirk Ferentz has built a respected brand in Iowa City. And I don't think he'd get enough credit for it. Like, in the past, like, oh, yeah, I was on the weakest side. When we had divisions in the Big Ten, I was on the weakest side. Iowa this, Iowa that. They're boring. They don't score a lot of points. His team wins, man. Like, why is that always, like, the narrative when we're talking about Iowa football? Like, I'm a purist at heart when it comes to football. Yes, I do think the air raid is the greatest offense ever invented in college football. I do. I love it. I love the numbering system. I love how things can look the same and be different. I love the concept of a 92 mesh and how Hal Mummy and Mike Leach came up with this system. Yes, I love it. But at my core, I'm a purist. I haven't watched a lick of NBA basketball regular season. I ain't watched one game. I didn't watch the All-Star game. When I tell you I didn't watch one game, I didn't watch one game. And I have yet to this season watch one full game because the NBA don't deserve my time. College football deserves my time, so I'm not going to do it. But I will say I prefer the playoff version of the game because you have teams playing defense. The mid-range shot, which isn't an analytical shot, becomes more prevalent in the playoffs. It's a slower paced game, and you don't see teams scoring 150 points in the playoffs. You just don't see it. So I prefer this version of the game. Like, when I think back and I look at some of the greatest coaches, I've seen, during my lifetime in the NFL, I instantly think about Jimmy Johnson and how he fleeced the Vikings and what the Dallas Cowboys were able to do. I think about Marv Levy and his K-gun offenses. But then I also think about some guys that just, like, found ways to just grit and grind, bro. Like, just find ways to tough it out. I think about the Bill Cowers and this, like, tough-minded, no nonsense. I think about Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells, is an elite coach, and he's an elite coach by playing the percentages, bro. We're going to play elite defense. We're going to smack your quarterback around. Your running back going to be scared to run a ball. He going to be tiptoeing through the hole. And your wide receivers, if they cross that middle, they know they getting hit. And we're going to control time of possession. We're going to control time of possession, man. We're going to have the ball at least 60% of the time. You're going to get 40%. We're going to get out 60. And we're going to see who have a chance to win this game at the end. What's wrong with that? Why is that looked upon as such a bad thing? And I think we've given Kirk Ferentz such a negative denotation. And I get it. The thing with his son and his offensive coordinator, the nepotism, I get that. I get it. You're frustrated with that. I get it. But at the end of the day, we can't hate on people who win. How do we hate on people who win? He wins. You got to admit, as a fan in Iowa City that, hey, at the first quarter, we going to wave our hands to the children in the children's hospital. And that, man, we're going to be somewhere around 8-4, 9-3, or 10-2 on a really good season, maybe even 11-1, as long as we got Kirk Ferentz as our head coach. The Kirk Ferentz disrespect has got to stop. The Iowa football has got to stop. I know it ain't pretty, it ain't sexy. That's probably a lot of the reason why a lot of you guys don't like. I know we talking about Iowa, but why some of you guys don't like Drew Allen, because it's just not sexy football. Iowa plays a physical brand of football, and it ain't for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody. like I said, Kirk Ferentz has built a respected brand in Iowa City. Iowa finished the 2024 season after a heartbreaking loss to Mizzou in the Music City Bowl. Iowa finished 6-3 in the Big Ten play. Remember how everybody was saying, well, you know, when they get rid of the divisions, Iowa this, that, and third. Iowa averaged 27.7 points per game last season. And I don't think it kind of flew under the radar as it should have flew under the radar. Because, yeah, why would we celebrate 27 points a game in college football? But the job that Tim Lester has done, bruh, in year one in Iowa, I'm really excited for this team. Because think about it. Let's be honest, bruh. Yo, Phil Parker, their defense coordinator, who I'm going to talk about a lot later on in this segment, bruh. Bro was able to win games. And I'm talking about football games. Like a lot of games. With their offense scoring 17, 18 points a game, bruh. How? That means your defense only giving up 12, 13. That's crazy to me. So Tim Lester, first year. Now that I think Kirk Ferentz's son's name, Brian Ferentz. I could be wrong. Now that he was no longer an offense coordinator, Tim Lester, first year, 27 points per game last season. He did not get enough credit for the job he did in Iowa City. He just didn't. That ranked 72nd nationally. And guess what? I read an Iowa article last year, and they said with Tim Lester as our offensive coordinator, we would go, they were ranked what, like 130 or something the year before? He said about middle of the road. That article was damn near almost accurate. 72 ranked nationally at 27.7 points per game. This is a huge W. This means Iowa's taking a huge step in the right direction, averaging 27.7 points a game. It don't sound like a lot. I know it don't. But if you really look at the numbers, do your research and see how much points they were averaging per game before he got there in recent memory. It wasn't a lot, brother. I promise you. It wasn't a lot. And you think about it, what, 2022, 2023, they was averaging 15 points and 17 points per game. And one of those years, they was in a Big Ten title game. 17 points per game, bro. 17 points per game. So they went from 15 in 2022, 17 points in 2023 to 27 points in 2024. That's a 10-point jump. That's a 10-point jump. So I look at this, my eyes get wide, and I say, well, I know defensively for Iowa, they're not returning a lot of production, but I know offensively, they're returning a lot of production. So I look at this team, I do one of these numbers like, man, I'm going to start me a dynasty with Iowa. When College Football 26 come out, like, that's how I start looking at teams, man. I'm doing research. I'm being a rabbit hole, man. I blame, man, it's Boomer, Nino, Moon, D-Now, SC, Andy. It's their fault, man. I be in these rabbit holes sometimes. And I was just in an Iowa rabbit hole. I think when I was looking at the 10 best traditions in college football, and that's when I first started combing through the roster. I said, man, hold on, man. This Iowa team got a really good team, yo. They got a really good team, man. What Tim Lester did in 2024 should not go unnoticed. Great job, Tim Lester. Great job. So speaking of offense, what a hell of a portal grab did they get in Mark Gronowski. If Tim Lester could handpick a quarterback to run his RPO offense, I think Gronowski probably would be his first pick. And if he wasn't his first pick, it'll be Rhett Lashley's kid down at SMU, Kevin Jennings, who does an amazing job running the run-pass option. But to get Mark Gronowski, if you don't know who that is, he played at South Dakota State last year. FCS ranked, 23 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, added 577 yards from the ground. Now, I got to ask my boy D-Now this. I wonder when was the last time he was this excited about an Iowa quarterback? You got to go back. Like, I was a huge big game Drew Tate fan when he was, in Iowa City, from the years of like 2003 to 2005 or 6. Brad Banks was another one of my guys. Like, you have to go back some years. You have to really know college football to go back and be like, yo, when's the last time Iowa's been really excited about a quarterback? Mark Gronowski, Iowa City fans, is a reason to get excited. And when you pair him with Tim Lester's system and the fact that he loves to run that RPO, and you got a guy not only who can run the RPO, but can also, if you want to run a read RPO, he can do that too. Man, I'm telling you, there's a reason to get excited for this Iowa team. I promise you. So like I said, if Tim Lester can handpick a quarterback to run his system, of course you got guys that you plug and play any system, right? Like, damn, who wouldn't take Garrett Nussmeier? Who wouldn't take Cade Klubnik, right? But when you think about systems and we think about quarterbacks, that's like a hand-in-glove fit for a system, And that RPO is the system. I think Kevin Jennings is probably the only guy that you'll probably look at and say he could probably run it a little bit better. But other than that, I love this Mark Gronowski get. And I was going to shock some team this year. Offensively, Tim Lester's unit is returning 67% of their production. Overall, Iowa isn't returning a lot of production, especially defensively. And then you'll look at that, and we'll talk about defense a little bit later, and you look at them like, I don't know about them. But that ranks 35 in the nation. Offensively, returning 67% of their production is nothing to be sad about at all. That's not too shabby. Not too shabby. And I will rank 28th in Bill Connolly's. Shout out to Bill Connolly. Shout out to ESPN. He updated his SP Plus ranking, post-spring rankings. I like that running back group. I know it's not that typical, but you kind of get that old school physical back that you get in Iowa. But I do like Kamari Moulton. I like Jason Patterson. Both got a couple of years with the program. Year 2 for both of them in Tim Lester's system. You get the fact that they got a quarterback who can take off with that thing. I really like what Iowa's got cooking. I know a lot of y'all sleeping on Iowa because you want to talk about Big Ten football. We want to talk about Penn State. Want to talk about Ohio State. You want to talk about Oregon. You want to talk about Michigan. But here's this team that just plays this brand of football. And it's nothing very special that they do, but they just going to come. They're going to play physically. They're going to punch you in your mouth. And they're going to see if you can take a punch. Everybody got plans, so they get hit in the face, right? That's the type of team Iowa is. So I like what they got at quarterback. I like the pairing of running backs. I believe both of these guys' usage will go up this year, and they should be able to be pretty damn good. The playmakers on the outside for the Hawkeyes start with Jacob Gill. With his year, under a belt in this system, him and Mark Gronowski, and Mark Gronowski at the helm. Jacob Gill is poised for a breakout season. He had 35 catches, 2 touchdowns last season. It'd be interesting to see, because if you play at Iowa, as a head coach, these are a couple things They'll probably struggle passing the ball, which I don't think they will this year. They're going to play physical defense. They're going to be able to run the ball. I think with the ability to run RPO, and then typically you see offense coordinators really start to cook up. Year 1, you just trying to get everybody to trust the system and know the system. Year 2, year 3, year 4 is where you really start to build and hone in on that system. And I know Kirk Ferentz is looking at this team. He's looking at, arguably the best defensive coordinator in the sport, or one of the best. Some people will have Jim Knowles at that number 1 spot. And he's like, yo, if I get any amount of offense, right, this could be special. So like I said, the wide receiver room start with Jacob Gill. He could be poised for a breakout season this year, so that's definitely a name to watch. And then, I already talked about Gronowski's ability to run a rock from the quarterback position. Reese Vander Zee and Seth Anderson round out this wide receiver room. And one player to watch, they got a kid from Chattanooga, transfer Sam Phillips. He's a player to watch to see how many targets he get this year and if he can sneak and get opportunities on this offense. The offensive line is formidable, man. And one of the things I like looking at, Big Ten ball, you better bring your offensive line, better bring your lunch pail. It is what it is. That's why I said, a lot of you guys look at what USC did last year, and, because you don't like Lincoln Riley, he underwhelmed, told you he couldn't coach without a Heisman quarterback, this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. He made the adjustment to the physicality of the Big Ten, and they were in a lot of games. They had the opportunity to win a lot of games. I'm telling you, 3 or 4 of those games go differently, and we'll talk about this in our What If segment. We'll be looking at Lincoln Riley and USC very differently. So bringing your lunch pail, I always love. When I talk about Big Ten ball, I talk about SEC ball. Those are the physical conferences. I want to look at your offensive line and see what your offensive line is. Last year, 2024, Iowa, their offensive line was one of the semifinalists for the Joe Moore Award. That's an award that's, I told y'all earlier, in the show, that's near and dear to my heart. I love that award. I believe Army won it last year. I think it was Washington the year before that in 2023. So, like I said, if you can, win the game from the trenches on the offensive line, you got a chance to play, late in the season. And I'm talking late in the season. We talking conference championships and all that stuff as well. So, the offensive line, in my opinion, starts with 2 guys. You're looking at right tackle, Jennings Dunker, first team All Big Ten last year by the coaches. And then we also looking at Logan Jones. And we also looking at Bo Stevens, who started all 12 games for the Hawkeyes last season. I believe the interior portion of this offensive line is really good. I truly do. I already told you last year they was one of the semi-finalists for the Joe Moore Award. This Iowa team is better than advertised. I promise you. So George Barnett, he's going to look to repeat that. Like this year, maybe they can win the Joe Moore Award. If they can keep Gronowski upright, I think Tim Lester's system allows him to get the ball out of his hands quickly, make quick decisions, and make trustworthy decisions as well. Because that's what the run pass option is all about. Because you make the wrong decision or wrong read, we can see what happened with when SMU traveled to Penn State last year and Penn State defense just took over that game. Because it's all about timing and being able to make sharp decisions. So, offense, we talked about that. Let's talk about their defense. When I think about Iowa football, I automatically think about their defense and their defense coordinator, Phil Parker. And what he's able to do year in and year out is crazy. Like, crazy. I don't think we really know how to it's like one of those things like you just know what he's going to bring. And sometimes when things become a norm, we take away the greatness of it. LeBron James, playing this great at this age, we pull away the greatness of it. We not really quantizing how great this really is. Or, Michael Jordan go make a game winner. It becomes the norm. So you kind of taking away from the greatness. Phil Parker, what he's been able to do with these Iowa defenses have become the norm. Fun fact, since 2015, Phil Parker defenses have never finished outside of the top 15 nationally in points per game allowed. Do you guys know how great of a stat that is? Since 2015, the year is 2025. So we talking about a 10-year run. We know. And a lot of those defenses was in the top 10 and a few of them were in the top 5. Points per game allowed. Iowa, you scored 20 points, you got a chance to win a game. 25 points, you got a chance to win a game. 27 points, hold on now. We thinking differently. We got a chance to score on the offense now too. As an Iowa Hawkeye fan, I'll be extremely happy. I think the biggest misconception about this Iowa team heading into this season is the fact that they've lost so much production over the last few seasons, and I get it. They've been able to put players in the NFL year in, year out. And I think most of the production that they've placed in the NFL has come from the defensive side of the ball. If you go look at the metrics and go look at the numbers. So, yes, we know. This team, year in, year out, a lot of great players on the defense side of the ball. They'll continue to put players in the NFL at the next level. And Phil Parker is a big reason for that. But to take the fact that, hey, they're putting so much production in the NFL, they don't got a lot of return to production. So I think this defense is going to not be as good this year. I'm not betting against Phil Parker. You betting against Phil Parker because a lot of these players that are returning played in a lot of games last year. I don't think people realize how many defenses run a lot of substitution packages, and you have to. The game is so damn fast, you have to. That's why, you see a lot of defensive lines rotate players. You see cornerbacks come in and come out. You see linebackers, come in and come out. I think every starter on this defense played in some capacity last season. The players are there. Yes, they lost a lot of great players. I get it. But players who played in this system, Kirk Ferentz has been able to do what Dabo Swinney has been able to do. Keep players here. Trying his best to keep players, because we see all over college football, players entering the portal. They're not happy to enter the portal. Kirk Ferentz has been able to keep players here. And I think he's done a great job at it. So let's talk about the defensive line. Max Llewellyn and Ethan Burkett can certainly rush the quarterback. I think they had 5.5 sacks, and the other one had 6.5 sacks. So that's pressure off the edge. And then you look at pressure from the 3 technique, which I love to see. Is people get pressure from the 3 tech. And Aaron Graves wrecks havoc from that 3 tech. He had 6 sacks last year, 3 forced fumbles. Really good. I like their cornerbacks too. I think their cornerbacks are slept on. TJ Hall is certainly a guy who could be playing at the Senior Bowl this upcoming year in Mobile. Because what the Senior Bowl try to do is get those taller corners. Because the NFL likes those taller corners, those 6', 6'1" corners. I don't know if TJ Hall is legitimately 6'1", but he's listed at 6'1", so it'll be interesting to see if he can have a solid year. And I have to give credit to both TJ Hall and Deshaun Lee because they're not afraid of contact. They will come up and make a tackle. They will 100% come up and make a tackle. So a formidable cornerback duo. Now, when you look at this team, you look at the defense, you say, what about linebacker? You kind of got me there. Not a lot of experience at linebacker. So it'll be interesting to see how Phil Parker is able to kind of band-aid that, so to speak, to see, how this defense will play. But the defense will be fine. Phil Parker is there, and if you betting against Phil Parker, you're a fool. You're a fool if you betting against him. I'm not betting against him. Y'all can bet against him. I'm not betting against him. So like we did the last few episodes, we are going to go down the list, and we're going to look at their schedule. I'm going to tell you the games that I think they can win. Now, if you saw the Penn State episode, you kind of know one game that I have Iowa winning that probably nobody else will have Iowa. Not nobody else. Of course, the fans in Iowa City have Iowa winning, but not a lot of people have Iowa winning. Week 1, they play Albany. That's a win for me. I think the defense will come out and show, hey, we're ready for this season, and I expect Tim Lester and that offense might put up 40 points that game, 40 plus. Who knows? Week 2 at Iowa State. Cy-Hawk game, I got that a loss. And the only reason I got a loss is just because my belief in Iowa State this year. I believe in what Iowa State can do. So after week 2, I was 1-1, win versus Albany. Week 2, the Cy-Hawk game, they lose versus Iowa State. Week 3 versus UMass is a win. Week 4 at Rutgers is a win. They're about to go on the run. Week 5 versus Indiana. Now, I don't think Indiana was a one-off. I don't believe that. I've been around Kirk Signetti when he was at JMU. For too many years, you just think that that's a one-off. Kirk Signetti does win. It really does. But I just think that, with some of the pieces that they lost, it'd be interesting to see how Fernando Mendoza looks in Mike Shanahan's system. Will he be as good as Curtis Work was last year? That'll be difficult to duplicate. But I still like Indiana. But even though I like Indiana, give me Iowa in this game. So now we're moving to 4-1 on the season with the only loss to Iowa State. Week 6 at Wisconsin. It's going to be a physical game. It's going to be an old school physical game. If you all haven't been paying attention in the offseason, Wisconsin is bringing back like their older style offense. The Chip Lindsey and the air raid system, I know what Luke Fickell wanted to do. It just didn't work there. I don't think it'll ever work there. So with a guy like Billy Edwards Jr. at quarterback, who I like a lot, for some reason, I just think you go to that game, Madison just takes over, jump around. Like, I don't know. I look at a game on the schedule. I'm like, what's the game on the schedule that Iowa could lose? And some people probably have them winning. The Wisconsin game would be that game for me, especially with who they faced that following week at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. And that's Penn State. I'm telling you, Kinnick Stadium is going to be electric. It's going to be electric. And I think I had Penn State losing one game this year, and the only loss this year was going to be to Iowa. I got Iowa winning this game, surprisingly. I think the physicality, they'll be able to play defense. They'll be able to get interior and exterior pressure on Drew Aller. They'll make him uncomfortable. I will find a way to stop the run, and they'll find a way to win this game. I don't like this matchup for Penn State. I don't like it at all. So that's a win for me. Week 8, Minnesota, the Florida Rosedale. It stays in Iowa City. They win that one. Week 9 versus Oregon. Now, Dan Lanning wins. I take nothing away from him. They really build him like that SEC West type team. Where you guys at with Dante Moore? I know the people I've talked to love him. I know SC loves him. SC was, I think, a huge fan of maybe giving Dante Moore an opportunity when Dylan Gabriel was struggling a little bit last season before Dylan Gabriel really things started to click and he started to figure it out. But at Kinnick Stadium, give me Iowa. Give me Iowa. Yeah, give me Iowa. I think they'll rattle Dante Moore. I got Oregon losing a few games this year too. Oregon will be one of those team in-depth things we'll do. I think people will be surprised at where I have them at this week. So far in the season, Iowa's cooking. They beat Albany, lose to Iowa State, beat UMass, beat Rutgers, beat Indiana, lose to Wisconsin, beat Penn State, beat Minnesota, beat Oregon. They red hot. At this point, we're looking at this team who's 7-2 and look like they about to do damage in the Big Ten. Week 10 at USC. Or is this an Iowa? I'm not sure. But give me USC. Give me USC. I think Lincoln Riley figures out a way to win this one. I know it's a weird game. I know I got some games on here. Y'all Iowa fans gonna be mad confused, but it's all good. It's all good. This is just how I look at the sport. Y'all gotta just trust my process and how I look at it. Games you always think are gonna be guaranteed sometimes end up being the games that aren't so guaranteed, and it works vice versa as well. USC, yeah, give me USC in that game. Like I said, USC was so close last season. I don't think people really know how close they were. Go back, look at those games, rewatch them, and tell me what you think. Seriously, go rewatch USC last year. And I'm telling you, they lost some games they had no business losing. I was at one of them at Maryland, during Maryland's homecoming. I was at a game USC had no business losing, and they lost. Michigan State, that's a win. At Nebraska, that's a win. Iowa finishes the season 9-3. They will be right there in the thick of things. Now, if they can find a way to go 10-2, that'll probably have them college football playoff eligible when you look at the schedule. I think 9-3 they may just missed it, but this is a really good team that the fans of Iowa City have, and they should be proud of what Kirk Ferentz has been able to do, what Tim Lester has been able to do, what Phil Parker has been able to do. I like this team a lot. Keep your eye on our Hawkeyes this upcoming season. I don't know. Hour just don't feel like it used to. Like, I feel like that was the fastest hour. I feel like I only been talking for like 15 minutes, and then here we go. It's already 5 o'clock. It's been a fun show. Make sure you guys go subscribe over on the YouTube. If you just go on the YouTube, put in the search bar at Governor of College Football, you'll be able to find us. We'll be live again tomorrow. We'll be live again Wednesday. We'll be live again on Thursday. I doubt we'll be able to go live on Friday, but if we do, we'll make it happen. I love talking college football, man. We got so much to talk about this week. We did the Iowa deep dive today. Tomorrow, Alabama? Tomorrow might be Alabama. We're doing an Alabama deep dive tomorrow, too. So that'll be pretty dope. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in a sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, you all take care. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the ball.